Board of Trustee meeting to order. Entertain a motion for the adoption of agenda and approve of consent agenda items.
So moved.
Second.
I would just like to make sure we point out that in approving it, that 6H will not be on the board agenda because it did not come out of committee.
Thank you.
Say that again, Cindy.
Item 6H is not part of approving the agenda because it did not come out of the committee of the whole meeting.
Just one second. 6-8.
We referred it back to committee.
Yeah.
All right. Kate and Kevin, how do you vote?
Wait, I've got to join. I'm sorry, I'm coming.
Kate, Kevin?
I was.
We're voting on item 1B, adoption of agenda consent items.
Give me a minute to get it pulled up.
How do you vote?
Okay, we're voting on those. I vote yay.
Okay. All right, I believe we're waiting on Reverend Collins.
Yeah, I'm trying to get back out of the committee.
How do you
back to the regular
vote?
Meeting.
How do you vote, Reverend Collins?
I vote yes, but I can't. I vote yes, but can't get out of it.
Mr. Hollinshed is not on the phone. Did you vote, Reverend Collins? All right, that motion passes. Approval of minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Darby, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Thank you. Shed's not on. Okay, that motion passes 5-1. The only board remarks that I have, I just want to remind board members of the superintendent evaluation that was supposed to be held this month at this meeting that we talked about, and being that the superintendent is not present, we will have that evaluation done on next month upon her return.
So this will be the part without any student achievement because we just found out we won't have any of that.
Yeah, so remember, we're doing it in two parts.
Right, so this will, okay, good.
Right, so this will just be part one, but we will do it next month upon her return. Okay, entertain a motion to go into executive session?
May I ask a question?
Sure.
So a lot of confusion has come up, and frankly, I'm confused. Did the board decide to add 2 kindergarten classes at Buist? Was that part of something that the board did? Was that done because staff has that authority to do? I'm just, I reviewed the minutes. I don't see any indication that that was discussed. So how did that happen?
You have information?
The board didn't do that.
No, it was done by the superintendent.
Yeah, well,
So
superintendent
we add classes at all kinds of schools without requesting board permission. So if there's room and we have the ability to expand, just like pre-K and Head Start, if there's room and we can expand, we do.
And so if they wanted to expand seats at another magnet school, they could do so, but we're choosing not to? You're choosing not to as staff?
There's no space at the other magnet schools to expand. So
That
the other
makes
2
sense.
magnet schools that are full, which are academic magnet schools.
No, those are the other 2 tested in magnet schools. There are multitudes of magnet schools with waiting lists. All the Montessoris have waiting lists.
But there's no room to expand.
Yes.
Right.
There's no room to expand.
So
at those
then,
schools.
I guess where I just want to make sure we get very clear, because this is a conversation that needs to be very transparent, it is, and I support 100% that. But we had in our last board meeting a large presentation that said the board needed to be involved in deciding how to grow magnet schools. So it seems like we're stepping in and out of the decision-making process, and I just want to make sure we're very clear on how and why the board would do that. We're being asked to vet decisions on magnet expansion or decreasing. At the same time, there are certain magnet decisions that are justifiably so made by staff, and I want to get real comfortable with why we're being brought into this at this time, as opposed to other times when decisions have been made without the board being included in the conversation or prior. So
it wasn't the last meeting, it may have been the meeting before that the superintendent did share those details with us.
right, that she made that decision.
Right, that she made it.
And then it was at the last meeting that the staff said, we want the board to start making these decisions about magnet schools that we're going to propose and bring to you in the October board meeting. That was, I mean, literally the motion is bring those recommendations to the board at the October board meeting. So I just want to be real careful about when the board comes in and out of that decision-making process. I mean, we literally voted to have them bring us proposals for us to decide.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Darby.
You're right, the superintendent did let us know, or actually gave us some input about adding the 2 classes at View. The recommendation, or the recommendation to come back in October, my understanding was that that's looking at doing kind of an overhaul of what we are offering in partial magnet and magnet programs. So I think it's a little bit different than what, and that may be what Cindy's perception is as well.
Okay, thank you. All right, entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All right, thank you. We're all going to executive session. We're going to reconvene in open session. At this time, we'll have a moment of silence. At this time, we'll have a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we'll entertain a motion for executive session items.
Move to approve item 4A.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is that on?
I got it.
Okay.
Now I'm on. I was confused. Thank you. Are we ready to vote?
Okay, yes, please. Kate, how do you vote?
Aye.
Kevin? Is Kevin on? Aye. I'm sorry, say again? Okay, thank you. Just for the record, Kate Darby and Kevin Hollenshed is on the phone. Okay, that motion passes. Item 4B.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay,
So I'm going to make a motion based on the categories that we have openings in. So for medical, I would like to nominate number 4. We had only one clergy apply. That was number 9. I would like to nominate that for the clergy position. For the 2 parents, I would like to nominate number 7 and number 6. For the teacher, I'd like to nominate number 12. And for the student, I would like to nominate the only student that applied.
I'll second the motion.
all right, it's been properly moved in second. For medical, number 4, clergy only. Parent, number 7 and number 6. Teacher,
Number 12.
number 12, and student only that applied.
Yes, sir, that's
Kate.
my motion.
How do you vote?
I vote yes.
Kevin?
Aye.
And I, right? Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, that motion passes. Item 4C.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to uphold the decision of the superintendent.
Second.
Okay, probably moving second. Please cast your vote. How do you vote, Mr. Hollenshed?
Yes.
Ms. Darby?
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes. Item 4D.
Mr. Chair, I would ask that before the board make a decision on the request before us, that we move to have staff request a return packet from the District 2 constituent board.
Second.
Okay, probably moving second. Please cast your vote. How do you vote, Ms. Darby?
Aye.
Mr. Hollenshed?
Yes. I didn't change my vote, I hit the wrong thing.
Just hit the red button in the upper right-hand corner, change your vote.
Ain't that red button up there?
Yeah, I think he's already hit it. Which item?
We want me to just vote it on?
Which was D?
D.
Click, pull it up. He's already done, he was to change his vote on D. To what? What would you like your vote to be,
Aye.
Chris?
Aye. If you can change his to aye, or do we need to redo it?
No, like, he can state it to the board secretary.
Okay.
Aye.
All right, that motion passes. All right. Okay, just want to note that Reverend Collins did change his electronic vote from a no to a yes. Okay. All right, next item.
I'd like to make a motion, Reverend Mack.
Okay.
Okay, I'd like to move that we overturn the constituent board's recommendation on student number 34, and that we uphold the constituent board recommendations on student number 35, 36, and 37.
I will second that motion.
Okay, overturn number 34, uphold number 35, 36, and 37. Please cast your vote. Mr. Hollenshed, how do you vote?
Question, the one, that was transferring from,
That's a different
no, Justin the Burke.
one. Oh.
That's number, Chris.
What number is that one?
It's approved.
It's in the motion.
Yep, that's number 30. That's
in the
number
motion.
34, Reverend Collins.
That's 34, that's what we're
Yes.
approving?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. Mr. Hollenshed, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay.
Ms. Green.
Ms. Green?
Got it. Okay.
Okay, that motion passes. Item 4F.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to deny the request to remain, as well as deny any request for waived tuition.
Second.
Moving second. If there are any questions, if there being none, please cast your vote. Mr. Hollenshed, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Darby?
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes. At this time, we have item 5A, public comments. Mr. Frazier?
Thank you, sir. We have 8 speakers this evening. I'd like to remind everybody to keep your comments to 2 minutes. We will have a timer that will monitor that for you. First speaker up will be Gina Voorhees. If you'd come to the podium, please. And behind that, be prepared, Elaine Washington.
Hi, I'm Gina Voorhees. I just want to make sure I signed up for non-agenda items. So I'm here to talk about abuse. Should I talk now or later?
Okay, that would be non-agenda?
How many do we have total?
We've got 9 total.
All right, let me just take a look at this right quick. Okay, you can go ahead and
Yeah, I
proceed.
don't
We'll
have
do
a
it.
problem with that, yeah.
Okay, well, I am here to talk about the proposed changes at Buist. I attended the last meeting up at the School of the Arts. I want to reiterate my concerns about the recent decisions that have already been made and the proposed changes at Buist. These changes, as we've learned today, were made by the superintendent behind closed doors without public input. These are very significant changes. You're basically doubling the size of the school, which in essence means that we've grown out of the building without any concerns from parents or administrators or teachers being aired. I have emailed all of you on the board at least twice, and I would strongly urge the board not to rush into any decisions. Again, I want clear thought being put into decisions that are being made. I'm hearing that there may be a vote that comes up in the August-September timeline. Well, as Darren Goss, who was head of the MCAG for downtown, recommended, there needs to be a much larger discussion with a much larger group over a longer period of time. As per my email, and I know a lot of other abused parents have also emailed you, we will call for a public forum to have an open discussion on the issues. Let's all sit down. Let's talk about what makes Buist great. Let's talk to the teachers. I haven't heard anybody at all talk to the teachers about what makes Buist great. What is it about Buist? Is it the small size of the school? It is such an integral part to the success. The teachers are very satisfied there. We have very low teacher turnover. Teachers get along really well with the students, and they get to know their needs, what the students need to succeed, because it's such a small school setting. So let's talk about diversity. Let's talk about how we can increase the diversity at Buist. And the diversity that comes along right now, I would bet, would come from districts other than downtown Charleston.
If you could conclude your remarks, please.
So, again, I would like to encourage a public forum, and to this date, I have not received a reply from any of you about having a public forum. Let's open up this discussion to people, to air everyone's concerns, to hear all sides of the story, rather than making decisions by one person behind a closed door.
Thank you, Ms. Voorhees.
Thank you.
Elaine Washington is next, followed by Cynthia Washington.
Hi, I'm Elaine Washington. This is my first time speaking in front of a board of people. But I'm in half of CPA, Charleston Progressive Academy. And I'd like to speak on the closing. In 3 years, they're talking about closing the school down. History repeats itself. It can be good or bad. And the good part of history repeating itself is love, compassion, and caring and understanding, and truth and trust. The bad part of history can be conniving, greed, selfish, and inconsiderate. Barnes Wilson, C.A. Brown, Lincoln High School, Wilmot Frazier High School was a staff, oh Lord, I'm nervous, have the same thing in common. All of these schools have been closed down by Charleston Progressive. I'm sorry, I'm so confused.
Take your time, take your time.
I'm nervous. I never
Don't
spoke,
be
but the
nervous,
school
take your
have been
time.
closed down. And we would like to keep CPA open because it's a lighthouse school. It was established by 2 females, African-American women, Miss Harriet Wilder, also Miss Montel Robinson, who's deceased. We was told weeks ago, a month ago, that the school would be shut down by this mission critical committee. They proposed to shut the school down based on what? We don't have an understanding why. We would like to know why. Before a decision be made on this, decision can be made, please listen to the stockholders, the stakeholders, to hear what we have to say. It was not presented to the principal of the school, the teachers, was not presented to them, not even the teachers, not even the parents. I'm nervous. Can I say again? I'm sorry, I have never spoke before. But
Go ahead and
please
continue,
save our
but if you
school.
could bring your remarks to a close, thank you.
Okay, please save our school. CPA have love and compassion, and we built on that. We love our children too. We want the best for our children too. we establish leadership through our kids. And we care.
Thank you, Ms. Washington.
Thank you.
Cynthia Washington will then be followed by Naquan Kelly.
Good afternoon, members of the CCC School Board. I'm here today to voice my concern about the proposed closing of Charleston Progressive Academy. I have been charged with the task of taking care of my grandson, who is enrolled at CPA and entering the 3rd grade. He began CPA the summer prior to being accepted into the 4-year-old program. I was elated when I entered the school and saw the diverse cultural and demographical differences of the students there. I entered the school and saw those diversities. I was told about the school from a parent who had a son there. When the academic school year started, I was very disappointed that the original appearance of the school was changed. It was those children had vanished. However, it worked out fine. My grandson thrived, and his life was richly enhanced by his days at CPA. He appreciates learning, and his vocabulary and willingness to engage in conversations with any man, woman, boy, or girl is exciting to behold. He is a thinker, not only about himself, but others as well. I credit his school for these accomplishments. They have kept me informed about his needs and continue to challenge every aspect of his life. Listening to the video of the school board meeting where the critical mission team proposed closing the school, I was very disheartened that my grandson's principal, the school, and that they were not aware of the meeting. And upon questioning, I found out the meetings that they were supposed to attend had been canceled prior to the meeting started. I have a few questions I would like you to consider. First, why CPA? To be remodeled to meet the physical needs of middle schoolers. Number 2, why does it seem that schools that have been started by Afro-Americans, such as Barnes Wilson, CPA Brown, and Wilmont Fraziers, are among the first to be put on the chopping block? Now you're talking about CPA, who has the founder, who is also still alive. Why can't schools that are presently closed be used and the funds to renovate them serve your needs?
If you could bring your remarks to a close.
Last one, what will happen to the students that will be enrolled at CPA? Are they going to have to be bused to other locations? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Washington. Naquan Kelly is next, followed by Harriet Wilder.
Good evening. First, I want to state that I'm a concerned and dedicated parent of 2 children, one of which has gone to middle school at Charleston Progressive, and one that is currently going to kindergarten at Charleston Progressive. So I have a long history at Charleston Progressive. As a countywide magnet and the only Stephen Covey leadership school in Charleston County, the school has been maintaining a school report card of average consistently throughout the years. Last year was the first year that CPA failed to achieve average. However, for any proposal as serious as closing this school or any school, one data point does not appear to be very transparent. The question that I asked is why a 2017 3rd grade reading SC ready score was used and not the 4th or 5th grade, and was your decision for choosing CPA based on data and performance? If the answer is yes, my next question is, would the Mission Critical Commission Committee come to this conclusion to recommend that Charleston Progressive be closed? This is the second time that Charleston Progressive is in this position to be closed. And replacing it with the Montessori students. The justification by Mr. Goss stated that's what the Jane Simmons parents want. CPA parents tells us that our thoughts and feelings do not matter. Trying to justify this proposal with moving Simmons Pinckney and another African-American school in the Courtney building does not and will not make the African-American community satisfied.
If you could bring your remarks to a close.
I will.
Kelly. Thank you.
Thank you. So we question that the performance, if the performance is the issue, or well, what we want for our children, does it really make a difference? Does it matter to these persons that are making this proposal for school closure of Charleston Progressive? Again, this is the only leadership school in this county. That should make a difference. We're trying to mold leaders and not losers. Okay? And, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Harriet Wilder. And then should be followed by Sally Ballard.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Harriet White Wilder, and I'm here to speak on behalf of Charleston Progressive School. Charleston Progressive was established by two retired Charleston County administrators. Therefore, that in itself set precedence over the fact that there are others that are making statements that have no idea of what's going on as far as education is concerned. The process is not concerned. As someone mentioned earlier, Mrs. Martell Robinson is deceased. I'm the person that's still here, alive, willing, and ready to fight for Charleston Progressive. In 1995, the school board gave Charleston Progressive permission to open. And we've been functioning since then. Every now and then, we'd hit a bump in the road that always came from proposals to close the school. Going all the way back to 2007. The Chronicle featured an...
Go ahead.
All right, there was an article in the Chronicle that stated Charleston Progressive School open enrollment successful despite the lack of funding. Okay, that was 2007. 2008, the Post and Courier shows a plan for District 20 closing and restructuring. The article in the Post and Courier states that the district is facing what is described as a financial crisis. The district was then asked to come up with steps to devise a plan for restructuring and closing schools.
Wilder, if you could wrap it up.
Okay.
Thank you,
Charleston
ma'am.
Progressive was on that list too. Now here it is, 2019. The game is still the same. The only difference is the players are different. The question still remains, why? Why Charleston Progressive? Is it the location? Is it the student body? What? Definitely it couldn't be because you're trying to save money, because the way schools are being flipped. The only thing that's going to come out of this is Charleston Progressive being closed. So how are you saving the money?
Thank you, Ms. Wilder.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Sally Ballard is next, followed by Mr. Arthur Lawrence.
Reverend Mack and members of the school board, I'm Sally Ballard, and I was at the Buste Academy for Advanced Studies for 22 years. During that time, I was the assistant principal and then went on to become the principal. For decades, for 3 decades actually, Buste Academy has been one of the strongest schools in the state of South Carolina. And the faculty members, the students, and the parents have worked very hard to make it #1. The curriculum has always been rigorous. Students attend foreign language classes 5 days a week. There is an entrance test that must be taken and requirements. There's a continuation policy so that students are kept where they need to be in order for the curriculum to work for them. In 2007, Buste was made an international baccalaureate school, both for the elementary and for the middle grades. And this further enhanced our international approach to learning. Today, you can find Buste alumni all over the world, either studying or working. But now we have changes afoot. First, class size was increased. Secondly, test scores have been lowered for entrance, and now 2 kindergarten classes are to be added, which will eventually lead to the school being doubled in size. There's talk of merging with Memminger, and that would split the grades between the 2 campuses. That goes completely contrary to what the whole intention of one of the intentions of the school was, which was to have a kindergarten through 8th grade program. And how will all of this work out for Memminger? They have their own 3 distinct programs. The student-teacher ratio over there is 11-1. Ours is much higher. And how will their community needs be met? Your ideas at the moment are not going to improve the education on Charleston's Peninsula. And it appears at the moment that you are trying to bring down one of your best schools rather than trying to find ways to improve the others. You should be cheering us on, not undermining the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ballard. Mr. Lawrence, followed by Devin Wade.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board. I have almost over 60 years working in government, working local here in Charleston, and there's always a fight. It's 10 years to the date that what you're doing came before this board 10 years ago. Ray Charles can look in the package on your desk and see what's going on. We came to you before with Charleston Progressive and Buste. We're not going to fight each other. We need to work together like we did 10 years ago to turn this thing around. Now, I'm not a gambling man, but I will bet that the principal of Charleston Progressive weren't contacted, the parents weren't contacted, no one contact or talk to those individuals. But now I always tell people, if you're in charge of the data, you can make the data read whatever you want it to read. But you should not touch Charleston Progressive. And I want to thank that board member on the 24th who stood up for Charleston Progressive. They have worked, you abused them in the past, and now you want to continue to abuse them. You need to stop it. And the number is 3 years for those schools that you have on the agenda to chop down because of one person sitting up high in that seat up there. One person went to the Chronicle, put that irate piece in the Chronicle, tried to make the black community, the black teachers, and the black principal look bad, and the student. You siphon off the money from the different school and Title I, and that individual, you're all living in a glass house and throwing rocks. No one said about the $8 million loss, the different things that you're going through right now, which you did wrong. No one went to the paper and continued to put that in the paper. But the individual who did that, we're going to hold all those politicians that trying to put this package together for this community. On election day, everyone in here should vote those individuals out. And we can't allow people who's running for mayor or running for office use these kids in Charleston to further their agenda. You need to do better than that. You have abuse. You have Meeting Street Academy. You got a blueprint. Just make sure that every child is educated across the board like those schools you're trying to do.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Devin Wade, and then followed by Eric Jackson, who will be our last speaker.
Hi. I'm here to also speak about the proposed merger between Buist and Memminger. For me and for many of the parents that I know, the biggest issue right now is just clarity. No one understands what that means or what the vote actually is. So I'm here to ask you, what exactly is that proposal? What exactly are you voting on? And if you can provide some clarification. Does the proposal entail a full merger of Buist and Memminger student bodies? Would the merger take place immediately or over time? Would Buist and Memminger buildings be used to house an elementary school and a middle school, or would the buildings be used in some other fashion? When will a formal written description of the proposal be released to the community? Will it be released before the board votes on the proposal? Does the proposal entail a merger of space only so that the merged schools would house two separate academies, or is the intention to fully combine the student bodies? Is there a plan to provide additional support and resources to the current students in Memminger to raise their test scores, or is the plan, as has been suggested, just to average the test scores together? There's no clarification on that. Would the current administrators of each school, where would they go? Where would the current faculty and staff go? What is the plan to deal with the redundancies of administration of faculty and staff? Where do they go? If Buist's magnet status is eliminated, will it happen immediately or over time? Would there be a policy to grandfather in current students or not? What information, research, or immediate need caused the board to make the rush decision, or actually not the board, I guess the superintendent, to expand the kindergarten class? Was there thought or consideration given to the space constraints of future expansion? Is there an intention to continue admitting 4 classes per year, or, as has been suggested by some, was this a one-time experiment? The Clemson report and the mission-critical presentations did not address how the idea of a merger would be constructed or how it would play out. What research have you done since those reports came out to inform the vote that's upcoming? When can the community expect to see written documentation of these plans? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wade. Mr. Jackson?
Good afternoon. My name is Eric Jackson. I'm the SIC chairman for Burke High School, and that's I'm going to be speaking in that regards. I came last month addressing issues about learning with the SIC and what partnerships with the PTSA and other community organizations can mean for CCSD. But a recent op-ed in the local newspaper seems to undermine everything that we're working towards. The students at Burke High School deserve better representation. I think these kids work hard. Some of them come into the 9th grade behind the 8 ball, sometimes 2, 3 grades level behind. And as a SIC, a school administration, and a principal, it's totally disrespectful for somebody that's representing these kids to get in there and talk negative about their graduation. That is totally disrespectful. And as a board, Mr. Chairman and other board members, you should hold him accountable. As a matter of fact, everybody talking about board change, I'm going to ask for a board change, and I'm asking him to resign immediately, because that is disrespectful. He never talked about the great accomplishments of the students. We got two students going to the Citadel, one on the full ride football scholarship. We got students graduating with college classes already. We got a kid that's graduating with a high school diploma and an associate's degree. And to get in the newspaper and only talk about negative cherry-picked data as an assault to the rest of the kids in D20, and y'all need to stand up to him and hold him accountable. That's not right. I can come up here time and time again. I ain't going nowhere. I know when you meet, and I'm gonna come back every time, because that's disrespectful. We work in this community. When them kids walk across that stage, we are trying to get them to the next level just like you. Hold him accountable. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes public comments.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all of your public comments tonight. We're on Policy and Personnel Committee, item 6A, or is there a desire to?
I have a motion.
All right.
I move to approve items A through G, but individually. If I can get a second. Items A through G in policy personnel.
So I would say let's approve them as a voice vote, since we're all in agreement that we want to approve them, and have the chair work with the board secretary to make sure the votes are recorded properly for the minutes. Would you agree to that friendly amendment?
Yep.
I second that motion. Okay. So we'll vote on them all as one, but then we will make sure that we give Julie time to record them properly.
Or she can put them on the screen, doesn't matter. But we in other words, we agree to all of the policies except H.
All right.
H has been pulled.
Yeah, we agree to all except H.
Right.
I was saying, so unless you guys want to discuss it.
Okay. Is there any discussion items 6A through 6G? All right. Cindy made the motion. Reverend Collins made the motion. Cindy seconded that motion with the amendment. Julie, you have it recorded. All right.
So it'll have to be a voice vote.
Right. Mr. Frazier, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Green? Aye. Ms. Coates?
Yes.
Reverend Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Darby, you still on?
Yes, and yes.
Mr. Hollenshed?
Yes.
Okay, and I vote yes. That motion carries. All right, is there any other public comments? No, we did it all. That was it? Okay, all right.
Mr. Chair, being that we have voted on the items, there are no consent agenda items, I would move that that we adjourn.
Second.
Is there a second? Properly moving second. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, this meeting is now adjourned.